What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode 53 of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott, and I am running the show solo this evening as Bryan J. Baby got called in to work this evening. I guess the old job is more important than Nostalgia Mania, as it should be. So he's out. He's on call, doing a little bit of work. So he will not be joining us this evening. So I will be running the show by myself. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is episode 53 of Nostalgia Mania. As you can see below me, below the image, I guess, is the movie we're going to cover this evening, and that is Beetlejuice. And we're going to find out what happens when you die, haunt your house, and then hire crazy ghosts to scare a new tenant who moves into the house. Is where we're going tonight. Appreciate Broderick Hall for joining the show. Already in the house. Appreciate you, Broderick. Over on the YouTubes tonight. I like it. So we are here, guys. This is episode 53. We are just over that 1 year anniversary show. Technically, by episode was last week, but by the actual date, it was 2 weeks ago. We replayed our first episode way back when the logo of Nostalgia Mania was a little bit more relevant. It is the Zelda logo, but we went and talked about the Link to the Past, the very first episode. It was rough. We had a lot of technical difficulties during that show. I think I just completely dropped out for a little while, and Stitch was talking by himself for a little bit, but it wouldn't be a live show without the technical difficulties. So here we are, episode 53. I appreciate, again, everybody for tuning in. We are going to talk about Beetlejuice this evening. Before we jump into that, though, I want to remind everybody, as we always do each and every week, we have a very fun retro recast tonight. We're recasting not only Beetlejuice, but we're going to recast Lydia, Adam, and Barbara from the original Beetlejuice. We have a lot of entries tonight, and I have made images for everybody that has entered into this. So you will be able to see your picks live on the screen and matched up against everybody else's. So you'll be able to see that a little bit later on. So if you're in the chat, make sure you get your picks in. We will promote this throughout the night before we get to the retro recast. So with that being said, let's jump into the first segment of the show, as we do each and every week, and that is the Vintage Report. All right, what was in the news in March of 1988, the same month and year that Beetlejuice was released, and you see it right here on your screen. Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, was #1 in the music charts in March of 1998, or 1988, excuse me. It's funny because we all know Rick Astley now. Everybody has heard or have been Rickrolled at some point in the past. But Rickrolled kind of became synonymous in the early 2000s, I want to say. Somebody would send you a link to what you think you were opening up something, and then it would be linking you to a YouTube video of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So if you have never been Rickrolled, then you have been living under a rock from a technology standpoint. So appreciate Autumn and Alyssa, both. Autumn over on Twitch, Alyssa on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Vintage Report. Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up. #1 in the music charts. Crazy. 1988. 1 year after I was born. I wasn't even a year old yet. I was still 0. I didn't turn 1 until July. So crazy that this happened that year. Also happening this year, Macho Man Randy Savage defeats Ted DiBiase for the WWF Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 4. Wild. This is 1 year after Hulk Hogan body slams Andre the Giant. Also, 1 year before, Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior do battle, where Warrior beats Hogan. So this happened in between those two WrestleManias. But what a match. What a match that was. Macho Man was such a great in-ring talent, one of the best all time. And he wins the title at WrestleMania 4. Also in March of 1988 was the birth of a very good basketball player known as Steph Curry. March 14th, 1988 was the birth of the Golden Warriors player. And also in March of 1988, near and dear to my heart, Pepsi-Cola was gearing up to release one of its most iconic flavors, and that is Pepsi Wild Cherry, was due to be released in 1988. Was not released yet in March, but it was coming up shortly thereafter. So as you can see with the hat, Pepsi is near and dear to me, as you all know. So with that being said, if you guys have missed any of our previous episodes, our entire video library is out on YouTube. Just go search for JSE Studios. You can also listen to all of our audio podcasts on any platform that has podcasts, and just search for Nostalgia Mania. We are the logo with the Zelda Link to the Past triangle over the M. There are a couple other Nostalgia Mania podcasts out there. I don't know if any of them are releasing episodes weekly like we are, or even are active, but there are some out there if you search for that. But we are the one with the Zelda logo. So last week we talked about Stephen King's It, one of my favorite movies, Halloween movies ever. And we talked about both the Tim Curry version and the Bill Skarsgård's version just a little bit. But we heavily focused on the original miniseries. So that is available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. So with that being said, let's jump into the main event of the evening. And that is the reason you're all here, Beetlejuice, again released in March of 1988, March 30th. The runtime was approximately 92 minutes, about an hour and a half movie, which is pretty good for a 1988 film. That's about the sweet spot for movies back then. The budget was around $15 million and had a gross income of domestic box office of $84 million. So very successful in the box office, had a very good run, and which is why it has such notoriety today and why it had a but had a second one that was released last year, which I have not seen yet. So if anybody in the chat has seen Beetlejuice, let me know how it was. And if you liked it, I need to go check that out. I've not seen the second film yet. But also in March of 1988, what were some of Beetlejuice's competition? And we got a couple here. Johnny Be Good, starring Anthony Michael Hall and Robert Downey Jr., was in the movie theaters at the same time as Beetlejuice. So again, Johnny Be Good, I have seen probably one time in my life. I do not remember very much of this movie, but I do remember watching it one time. The other two I have not seen. Biloxi Blues, starring Matthew Broderick and Christopher Walken. Surprising with both those two in it. I have not seen that movie. But this was also in the theaters at the same time as Beetlejuice. And Police Academy 5 was also in theaters, starring Janet Jones and Matt McCoy. So have not seen that one either. Let's take it over to the chat. I've seen it. Alyssa has seen it. I'm assuming you are talking about Johnny Be Good or Biloxi Blues. I'm not sure. Oh, no, she's talking about Beetlejuice. Sorry. Didn't see that second one as much, but it's still kind of humorous. I liked it, but definitely the first was way better, as it normally is. The remakes or the number twos, especially if done significant years later, usually are not as good. So that's just kind of how it is. We kind of saw that with Hocus Pocus. Even though Hocus Pocus 2 was pretty good, it didn't live up to the first one. And usually second ones don't. But yeah, so the director of this was none other than Tim Burton. And he I like how he kind of blends that horror and comedy, fantasy type movies into his film, and definitely we see that in Beetlejuice. We also see other movies of Tim Burton's, and you got Batman, man. Batman, man. Also starring Michael Keaton, who is starring in this movie as well. One of Tim Burton's best films here is Batman. You've also got Nightmare Before Christmas, was a Tim Burton film. Edward Scissorhands, a Tim Burton film as well. Love Edward Scissorhands. Been a long time since I've seen that movie. I hope to. I don't know what month that was released, but that might be on a future episode of Nostalgia Mania. Is Edward Scissorhands. So yeah. So the jumping into Beetlejuice here. So Beetlejuice was originally spelled Beetlegeuse with a G, Betelgeuse in the original drafts. That's how it was originally spelled until they finally decided, you know what, let's just call it Beetlejuice. It's easier to say. Also, the title was almost known as Scared Sheetless. That was pitched in the early drafts as well. So we almost got a completely different film name before the character was, or the name of the movie was decided. Another fun fact, this movie is named Beetlejuice. The title character is named Beetlejuice, but Beetlejuice himself only had 17 minutes of screen time despite being the main character. I did not realize that until I started doing some research on this. So 17 minutes of a 92-minute film, and you're only seeing Beetlejuice for a short time. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool because Michael Keaton had played a really pivotal role in the look and feel of Beetlejuice. He kind of talked to the director and the hair and makeup and all that, and he kind of talked, you know what, he's the specific person that requested that mold be growing on his face, and you can see it there by his mouth, on his face. He likes to have that static looking hair. That was a Michael Keaton idea. So the whole look of Beetlejuice was kind of a creation of the mind of Michael Keaton. So pretty cool that he had a big play in what he looked like. So, it wasn't low budget. As we said, it was a $15 million budget, but it kind of had that creativity of a lower budget film, as you can see there. So jumping into the cast and characters of Beetlejuice, and as we've already said multiple times, and you see him there on the screen, Michael Keaton stars as Beetlejuice. He's the main character. He's wild, chaotic, and definitely has moral issues. And basically, all he wants to do is escape the afterlife. And crazy. And the favorite quote of him, and I was going to discuss it a little bit later, but it's no better time than now, especially with just a single host podcast tonight. It's showtime. Iconic quote, and one that I think about not only with Beetlejuice, but also being a wrestling fan. I think of Sting when I hear it's showtime, because Sting used it a lot as well. Curious to know if this is where it's showtime came from, because I know Sting said it in the 90s. I do not remember him saying it's showtime as early Surfer Sting. Maybe he did, but definitely was a 90s quote. Another character, very, very, very young, Alec Baldwin, played Adam. He was the husband of the ghost couple, the Maitlands, and basically just an ordinary guy. Him and his wife die in a car accident, and they are trying to adjust to the ghost life. and they basically live in the house that the new family moves into. And there was a particular scene in the movie that I wrote down that Lydia saw both Alec and I guess Adam and Barbara, and he looks at her and Lydia's talking to him, and he's like, "Wait a minute, you can see us without the sheets?" The first time that they'd been able to be seen by a human, or a living human, I guess, and that was Lydia. So, playing his wife was Gina Davis, played Barbara Maitland, and Gina was a phenomenal actress, is a phenomenal actress. She played in A League of Their Own, which is one of my favorite movies. Again, definitely going to be a future episode of Nostalgia Mania. And yeah, she's super kind in the movie. That's her character. Kind of a bit naive and struggles with the new family that is now living in her old home. So let's go over to the chat here before we move on. Only 17. Yeah, sorry, I'm behind on the comments. That's my fault, guys. Only 17. Yeah, 17 minutes of screen time by Beetlejuice. So, loved him and Mr. Mom. Yes. Great comment by Autumn. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm going to try to get to your comments, but with just me being by myself here, it's going to be a little difficult to bounce back and forth, but I will get to your comments as soon as possible. So let's jump over to Lydia, played by Winona Ryder. She's obviously that troubled teenage daughter of the new family that moves into the Maitlands home. And she can see ghosts. She can see both Adam and Barbara. And yeah, one of the quotes I wrote down for old Lydia was, I read through the handbook for the recently deceased. Living people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual. So very real quote there, and kind of plays into her character as the outcast of the living, and attracts to that non-living, I guess, the ghosts seeing. So we've got yes, love Winona, love Lydia. Yep, great comment by Autumn. We've got Catherine O'Hara, the mom of Lydia. She plays Delilah, and basically she's obsessed with art. She's got a lot of odd, stuff in her house that she brings in, statues, just different things. One of my favorite all-time scenes of this movie is when Beetlejuice forces that entire table that she's sitting at right there to stand up and sing Deo, which I cannot play a clip of that because of copyright infringement, but it was one of those scenes that we talk about here on Nostalgia Mania that, like, you could see that clip and just see 5 seconds of that clip and know exactly what movie it's from, and that's the scene is her standing up to say Deo. You immediately know it's Beetlejuice. So last but not least, we got Jeffrey Jones, plays Lydia's father, and is the husband of Delilah, and or Delia. I'm sorry if I'm saying her name incorrectly, but he is there as well. And him, Catherine O'Hare, and Lydia are both the new family moving into this house. So that kind of sets up the characters. We talked about a little bit earlier about how let's jump over to the chat real quick. Deo. Yeah, I want to sing it, but I'm not going to. Thanks, Adam. And yes, I agree, Alyssa. Catherine is hilarious. Love her and basically everything she's done. But she's definitely hilarious in this movie for sure. So before we move on, I do want to remind everybody that we are going to be doing the Retro Recast here very shortly. This episode is going to be kind of a condensed version because I am doing this solo, If you're in a chat and have not submitted your retro recast, put your picks in the chat. Who would you recast as Beetlejuice, Lydia, Adam, and Barbara if the movie was being made today? It's going to be a fun episode or a fun segment because I have created images for everybody's picks, and we have a bunch of picks this week. There are, I believe, 7 different people who have submitted theirs, and we're going to show them on screen tonight. So get your picks in. Who would you recast, and who is your favorite? If you stick around, who's your favorite recast of tonight? Put that in the chat as well. So let's jump into some of the different scenes from the movie. And one of my favorites is the afterlife waiting room, which I thought I had let me try to get this pulled up before. There it is. I thought I had it in here. The afterlife waiting room. I mean, this is an iconic scene here. You see all the different, people who are recently deceased, right? And this kind of shows up. This scene is set up kind of after Adam and Barbara are in that car accident. They kind of discover they died. And they are entering that afterlife waiting room, basically, is what this is. And it's kind of dark humor. You can see the different people there in your screen. You got the guy who is completely charred, and he was smoking a cigarette in the scene and saying he's trying to cut back. You see the guy, the hunter, right next to Barbara. Super small head. I believe that is indication of a self-inflicted. And then there's another scene later on that's kind of indicates that as well. But the quote that I like to bring out in this scene was from the lady behind the window, because they're confused, and it says, well, why is all these people different? Like what's going on? And the lady behind the desk says, this is what happens when you die. This is what happens when he dies, and that's what happened when they die, and that's what happens when she dies. So it kind of shows, not everything happens the same to everybody when you die. So, fun fact, this was designed to look cheap on purpose, according to Tim Burton. So everything in this scene kind of was purposely made to look not as high budget in this scene. So let's jump over to the next comment, or the next scene here, and that is, and these are just a couple of my favorite ones. Let me know in the comments your favorite scenes from the movie, and we'll definitely chat about it. But another one is the kind of the model cemetery where the Maitlands try to scare the new family, the Deetz, I believe is their last name. And they kind of bring out that model cemetery, and this is kind of where Beetlejuice kind of crashes in. And this is kind of the point in the movie where the tone kind of shifts, and the Beetlejuice wildness that you see out of Michael Keaton and out of Beetlejuice, the character, kind of starts to get unleashed. And there was a commercial that was playing in this model cemetery scene where Beetlejuice is kind of promoting himself. And I wrote down the quote that he says on the TV that says, as he's promoting himself, and he says, I'll eat anything you want me to eat. I'll swallow anything you want me to swallow. Chew on a dog. Anything. And then I think he barks like a dog too. So basically, he'll do anything to be able to get his name said 3 times and go on to do some wild and crazy things. So the cool thing about Michael Keaton, and we've already said he played a big part in the character look of Beetlejuice, but also he had a lot of improvised lines where I'm not sure how much and how many. I don't have anything written down, but when I did some research on this film, Keaton improvised a lot of his lines and didn't go per the script per se, which kind of helped the creative freedom of not only him, but some of the actors that he works with. So it kind of made that, I don't know, his look and attitude were very much his own input, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at the comments. I used to walk around the model cemetery. Yes, I would have loved to walk around that, man. I mean, just looking at that picture I just pulled up. Autumn, Beetlejuice was wild but hilarious. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. I've already talked about this one, but I've got to bring it up. One of my favorite scenes is Dale. And it's a family dinner scene with guests at the house. And Beetlejuice kind of uses that supernatural possession that during dinner to kind of force everybody to stand up and dance and sing along to the song Deo. And it's just a complete unforgettable scene. You kind of mix that comedy that we talked about from how humorous that Beetlejuice has been. He's got the comedy, he's got the horror. It's surreal. It's a musical. I mean, everything's kind of packed into this one little scene, and it is synonymous to Beetlejuice. You see this film, you see Catherine O'Hara stand up, and you see her say Deo. 95% of people who have ever turned on a TV and watched movies should be able to identify that is from Beetlejuice. So anyway, that's just this is probably one of my favorite scenes. Other than Beetlejuice always doing the my second favorite, and I don't have an image of it, I wish I did, was when Beetlejuice turned into the snake. They're upstairs on the mantle there, not on the mantle, but on the staircase. And Catherine O'Hara goes and grabs the railing, and the rail turns into a giant snake, black and white snake, and it's Beetlejuice. That scene is probably my second favorite. So, let's go back to the chat. Autumn saw someone's comment on Letterboxd, and it said, "What I got from this is that if you say his name 3 times, a coked out Michael Keaton appears and starts groping you." That is, that is a wild description of what Beetlejuice is. But yes, yes. So the finale, I mean, I guess not technically the finale, but the way Beetlejuice gets out is saying his name 3 times. Lydia and Beetlejuice kind of work together trying to scare the new family. And it's kind of that, culmination of ghosts versus humans. And that is where we hear, "It's showtime." And he says it a couple times throughout the movie. But my favorite quote of the movie, "It's showtime." So, and it's kind of that turning point of the movie when Lydia and Beetlejuice kind of start teaming up a little bit to wreak havoc on her family. So, yeah, I think my favorite scene, this is from Alyssa from YouTube. I think my favorite scene will always be when they're trying to scare them out of the house. Oh, yeah. This is definitely the theme of the movie for sure. So, this is such a fantastic movie. I loved going back and watching this film. I say film, movie. It was one I had not seen in quite a while. It had been a couple years, I feel like. Again, I have not seen the second one. I want to go back and watch it, but I have not. I've not found it yet. I know it's on. I think it's on HBO Max. I have not gotten a subscription to HBO Max yet, so I've got basically every other platform, I feel like, but Max is not one that I've got. So, yeah, so crazy that, like I said, kind of just wrapping things up a little bit. We've got Beetlejuice, which was originally spelt with a G and kind of looks like Beetlegeist. You've also got a movie that was also originally almost called Scared Sheetless. That's crazy. That would have been a wild difference in the movie. It's a beloved Michael Keaton movie. You know, it's just that horror comedy fantasy movie of the 80s, the late 80s, right? Like I said, this came out just before I turned 1. I was I was a baby when this movie came out, but it still resonated with me. I've seen it multiple times in my life, and I absolutely loved it. So $15 million budget, $84 million domestic. I say it did pretty well for itself. So with that being said, I think we are going to move forward to our next segment of the show. And we got some viewership here, so it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice here. So we're going to go on to the favorite segment that we do each and every week. And that's the Retro Recast.
Idiot! Wrestling's not fake!
Run, Forrest, run! Run, Forrest!
I'll be back.
Hey, Gary, check it out. It's the Retro Recast.
All right, we're here for another edition of the Retro Recast, brought to you by Nostalgia Mania and JSE Studios. We're going to recast the cast of Beetlejuice. Who would you cast in each of these 4 roles? Beetlejuice, Lydia, Adam, Barbara, if the movie was made today in 2025. Bonus points, obviously, if you don't use anybody from the remake of Beetlejuice or Beetlejuice number 2, right? We're gonna remake Beetlejuice today as if we're making it for the very first time as it was in 1988. So, with that being said, like I promoted earlier, we have a ton of entries this week. If you want to be entered and have your image shown on screen here, comment on our social media pages when we promote the Retro Recast and tell us your picks. And your image could pop up here on the screen, and we can read off your screen name, your name, however you want to do it, and we will show your Retro Recast among everybody else's here that is submitting theirs. So with that being said, we're going to start off with everybody's submissions, and then we'll go to Brian and my recast. So without further ado, let's jump right into the recast. Before we do that, let's jump to the chat here. Autumn, my favorite quote is when Alec Baldwin's character asks Beetlejuice for his qualifications, and he says, well, I attended Juilliard. I probably said that wrong. I lived through the Black Plague. I've seen The Exorcist 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time. Oh man, classic. All right, let's see what this recast is all about. Let's jump right into the very first one. And we're going with Jason Wallace, the former co-host of Nostalgia Mania. And there is his recast. His recast for Beetlejuice is Bill Hader. I love that choice. Bill Hader as Beetlejuice. Great choice. Lydia, he picked Jenna Ortega. Adam, he picked Jake Gyllenhaal. And Barbara is Ricky Lindholm. What do we think of old Jason's recast? There we go. Bill Hader would be a pretty good. Autumn agrees. Look at that. Jamie Arthur's in the house. I like it. Jamie, if you can get your Retro Recast in really quick, you want bring your picks up on the screen. I know it's last second, but there we go. That is Jason's picks for his Retro Recast. Let's jump to the next one. We will go to Megan. This is my wife's picks. She picked Evan Peters for Beetlejuice. Jenna Ortega as Lydia. So Jenna Ortega is a popular choice for Lydia. That's the second time we've seen her pop up. Josh Hutcherson as Adam. and Mila Kunis as Barbara. So that is Megan's retro recast. Autumn loves Josh Hutcherson. Yes, so does Alyssa. So both are digging Megan's recast. All right, jumping into the next one. Jennifer. She also picked Bill Hader for Beetlejuice. Look at that. Bill Hader popping up twice. Ariana Greenblatt is playing Lydia. Sam Claflin, probably said his last name incorrectly. Sam is playing Adam, and Elizabeth Olsen is Barbara. What do we think of Jennifer's recast? Bill Hader, Ariana Greenblatt, Sam Claflin, and Elizabeth Olsen. I like it. Again, I've already said I love Bill Hader's as Beetlejuice. And Elizabeth Olsen would definitely be a good Barbara, in my opinion. I like Elizabeth Olsen from Marvel. So, and the chat agrees. Elizabeth Olsen. Sam. All right. Nicely done. Nicely done. Moving on. Mrs. J, Bryan J's wife, submitted her picks. She is picking Tom Hiddleston as Beetlejuice. Rowan Blanchard as Lydia, John Krasinski as Adam, and Emily Blunt as Barbara. Picking the power couple to play Adam and Barbara with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. I like that pick. John Krasinski I picked last week. So had I not done John Krasinski last week, I probably would have picked him this week. But I want to not pick the same person 2 weeks in a row. But big fan of John Krasinski in this pick. So Alyssa agrees. Didn't even think of Rowan. Great pick. Great pick. Alyssa, also Sam and John and Emily. Good stuff. Great recast by Mrs. J. Moving on to Alyssa, who is here live in the chat. Picking Jim Carrey as Beetlejuice. Charlotte Laban as Lydia, Lewis Pullman as Adam, and Emma Corrin as Barbara. And you already know my feelings. Love Jim Carrey. He can pull off those facial expressions like it's nobody's business. I picked him last week for Pennywise. I think he would play fantastic from facial expressions alone, would play a great Beetlejuice. So, phenomenal pick. And Autumn agrees. Pretty good cast. Pretty good cast. I like it. Broderick Hall, who was in the chat earlier, not sure if he's still here, also picked Jim Carrey as Beetlejuice. So that is a popular choice. Maisie Williams as Lydia. Went with Rick Moranis as Adam and Jennifer Coolidge as Barbara. He definitely went an older version of Adam and Barbara than the original cast, but hey, everybody has their own recast. I think Rick Moranis is a great pick. I like Rick Moranis, even though he's been out of the spotlight for years, taking care of his kid. He is back. He is acting, and would play a damn good Adam. And I've already said my piece on Jim Carrey. Let's take a look at the chat. Broderick is here. Look at that. He is still here. I'm still proud of Lewis Pullman. I love Lewis Pullman's pick too. I downplayed that. I'm sorry, but it was definitely a good pick. Maisie Williams might be pretty good. Yes. So we'll go to Autumn's picks. And I think this is the final one before we jump into Brian and our picks. Autumn went with Johnny Depp to play Beetlejuice, Emma Myers to play Lydia, Ben Barnes to play Adam, and Emma Stone to play Barbara. And my personal opinion, I think Emma Myers might be my favorite pick for Lydia so far, in my opinion. Big fan of Emma Myers. Obviously, I've seen her a lot, basically because I've seen the Minecraft movie 25,000 times. But I think she'd be a great Lydia. Also, Johnny Depp, man. That's an underrated pick. Underrated. Spaceballs 2, baby. Brody Hall. Roderick Hall. Sorry, I said the wrong name. Captain Jack Sparrow, but Beetlejuice vibes. 100%. 100%. Emma's good for Lydia. Yes, Alyssa agrees. All right. And you're right. Yes, he does love Tim Burton does love Johnny Depp. He was Edward Scissorhands. So all right. So we are down to Brian and I's recast. I really wish, really wish Bryan J was here to talk about his recast. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and show it here tonight. We'll go his first. And he's going with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play Beetlejuice. So very dynamic role for old Dwayne to play. Maya Hawke to play Lydia. Ryan Gosling is Adam, and Jennifer Love Hewitt to play Barbara. What does the chat think of Dwayne Johnson as Beetlejuice? Autumn says The Rock definitely threw me for a loop. It's very, like I said, it's a very different role than we're used to seeing him play. But could he pull it off? Possibly. He's bald. He needs a. He'll definitely need a wig or something wild on his head. But yeah, Maya Hawke pick I think is a good one too for Lydia, in my opinion. Yep, Alyssa agrees too. Maya Hawke. All right, and then my recast. We'll pull mine up right now. We're going Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Beetlejuice. Another kind of a crazier pick, but he's kind of had a similar role recently, so I think he'd play a good Beetlejuice. I went with Millie Bobby Brown as Lydia. Adam Scott playing Adam, not because they have the same name, just because I think he'd play the part well. And then Allison Brie to play Barbara. What do we think about Josh's recast? I said I'm a fan of it. Obviously, I'm the one that did it. It's hard to beat any of these picks that you all put in the chat. It was great. So Alyssa says your whole recast is good, Josh. Appreciate it. I could have went Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Adam too. So like he could have played both roles, but I went ahead and went with him with Beetlejuice, and then went Adam Scott. So there you have it. Retro Recast. I'm going to post everybody's picks on our social media over the next couple of days, and I'm going to let people view it, see who they think has the best cast or the better cast, and we'll see what happens. So appreciate everybody for participating. I will try to do that each and every week and put your pictures up there as well. I think it makes it more fun, more interactive, rather than us just reading off the names. You can actually visually see it. But also, if we get too popular and this I start getting 10 or 12 or whatever, I might have to dwindle that down a little bit. I don't think I'm going to make 12 different images, but we can figure it out. We'll see what happens. So appreciate everybody for doing that. And if you're still here, you already know where to find us. We're right here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You can find us at JSE Studios. You can find us at Nostalgia Mania with the Zelda logo in the M. Check us out. And if you're not on Instagram, if you are, we're at JSE Studios 816. Same tag at TikTok, same tag at X. You can find us at The Real Josh Elliott on Twitch. We're also at JSE Studios on TikTok as well, which I already said, and Nostalgia Mania both. Somehow I ended up with 2 different TikTok accounts. So how that happened, I have no idea. You can also go follow Bryan J. Baby at Bryan J _Baby at TikTok, X, and Instagram, all the same name. Go give him a like, follow, and a share on his social media platforms. He would greatly appreciate it. He is super active on TikTok, meaning he doesn't post ever. But he does like and share a bunch of videos. So if you go check him out, maybe he'll start posting. Who knows? Maybe he'll start posting clips. Also, who knows? Anyway, Much shorter episode, even though I say much shorter. We're already at 50 minutes. I've been talking for 50 minutes by myself. That's crazy. Anyway, before we get out of here, guys, next week is one of the most fun episodes that we have each and every month, and that's our wrestling episode. And we are going with Halloween Havoc 1997, which we are going to witness a steel cage match between Roddy Piper and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And this is not those two wrestlers from 10 years prior. This is what they dubbed as Age in a Cage. Both many people say are way past their prime at this point. However, this was at the peak or the very beginning of D-Generation X, where WWF was starting to gain some traction, and you're putting this on the other channel as the main event. However, on the flip side of that, you also on this card are going to have the best wrestling match, and I don't say best. It's up there. Top 3, top 5 for sure. Best wrestling matches of all time. Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. And that match alone, you cannot find 5 matches that are better than that one. So that happens also on this card as well. So as bad as the main event might have been, that match is worth going back to rewatch Halloween Havoc. So we will chat about Halloween Havoc next week, same time, same place, same nostalgia. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott. Appreciate everybody for tuning in the chat. We had Broderick Hall. We had Autumn. We had Alyssa. We had Jamie Arthur in the house. Did we have anybody else that I've skipped over? I don't think so. Appreciate you all for being here live. Like and share our pages. If you guys are sitting here live and watch our live show, go to our podcast platforms. If you've got an Android, go to Spotify. If you've got a Apple device, go to Apple Podcasts. Find us, like us, follow us, put the notification bell on all the platforms, but definitely try to get some viewers or some listeners over there on that platform as well. And get us a little bit of a boost, because we love doing this each and every week. So hopefully you guys enjoy watching. So with that being said, that's all I got. I'm just kind of rambling on now. I am your real Josh Elliott. Bryan J will be back next week. And as always, let's get nostalgic.
Rewind the time, crank up the glow. Back when Blockbuster ruled the show. From slap bracelets to Saturday tunes, cartoons hit different and neon out.